For the pros and cons of Opera and Microsoft Edge, we will take a look at certain benchmarks that compares Opera to Microsoft Edge, and also to Google Chrome, which will be regarded as a control and as a way to measure the performance of those two browsers. For the first test, which is the HTML5 test, we can see that all three browsers perform extremely well and score a relatively same score of around 528 points out of a possible 555 points. What can we conclude from this? We can conclude that a Chromium-based architecture, that is the architecture for all three browsers, allows for the browser to perform extremely well, and it allows for all browsers to have the exact or around the same performance level. The second test, which is called the Jetstream 2 test, is one of the most comprehensive browser performance benchmark available. Jetstream 2 runs 64 tests measuring the speed of internet applications, variety of JavaScript and WebAssembly benchmarks, and also covering a range of advanced workloads and also programming techniques. And as you can see again, all three browsers perform extremely well and scored almost all the same mark. Finally, in the memory test, this test was conducted with loading 10 media-heavy websites into the browsers all at the same time and reported the how much MB was taken up in the RAM. We can see that Microsoft Edge performed the best because it prioritizes certain websites and how it uses the memory. So we can say that Microsoft Edge is slightly more efficient than the other two browsers. How does Edge do this? Well, Edge uses a technique called they use sleeping tabs, whereby they unload the content of the tabs that is not being viewed at the moment from the computer memory. However, with this technique used, when a user goes back to a sleeping tab, it has to get reloaded. So this may be an inconvenience for the user, and a higher memory usage does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing, where a higher memory usage allows for the user to get a snappier and faster browsing experience, as the tabs do not need to be reloaded every single time. Next, for the pros and cons, we'll talk about some of the feature sets that's offered by Microsoft Edge and also Opera. One of Opera's most headlining feature is its free VPN that is available for its users to access. This is a much appreciated feature as most VPN services require a subscription. A VPN is especially helpful when users want to unlock content that is barred in their respective country, or to hide their online identity and traffic activity from their ISPs. For customizability, indeed, both browsers offers a wide range of customizable looks. However, Opera offers slightly more flexibility and customizability for its users compared to Microsoft Edge, especially with Opera GX, whereas customizability is paramount and incomparable to other web browsers and Microsoft Edge. For its convenience of use, both browsers perform around the same. However, a major downside for Microsoft Edge is that it comes preloaded with Windows, so users may not like Microsoft Edge will need to manually delete it every single time. And the default search engine that comes with Microsoft Edge is Bing. And once again, users will need to go into settings to change it if they do not prefer using Bing as their search engine. Lastly, for memory, as shown earlier, Microsoft Edge performs slightly better than Opera because of its technique of implementing sleeping tabs. However, Microsoft Edge also has another feature of minimizing memory, and it's called efficiency mode, whereby Microsoft Edge will reallocate system resources in the CPU and RAM to improve performance and responsiveness.
Despite being two separate web browsers, Microsoft Edge and Opera are both accessible on a variety of operating systems, including Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. In addition, They support a variety platform. For instance, Opera has its own mobile version called Opera Mini and Opera Mobile. On the other hand, Microsoft Edge supports additional platforms like Xbox One and Xbox Series. Opera and Microsoft Edge each has a unique needs for their own web browsers to install in their own devices. The users have to fulfill the minimum requirement in order to install Microsoft Edge and Opera on their devices. For Microsoft Edge and Opera, the requirements are various platforms are vary. Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Windows 10, Windows 11 are the minimum requirements for Microsoft Edge. Opera required Windows 7 and later to install into the user's device. For macOS, Microsoft Edge needs macOS Sierra 10.12 or later. On the other hand, Opera requires OS X 10.13 to install into the user's devices. Opera requires a 64-bit version of Ubuntu 16.4 or later is the minimum requirement to install into the device. For Microsoft Edge, preview builds are available for the user to download the web browsers in the device. For iOS, Microsoft Edge requires iOS 11.0 or later. This is the same for Opera to install into iPad or iPhone. Installing Microsoft Edge for Android on tablets and phone required ARM-based CPUs and Android 4.4 KitKat or later. That is the minimum requirement to install the web browser. Opera requires Android version 2.2 or above. Next up, let's talk about interface and design. Many web browsers nowadays allow users to customize their own web browsers that suit their style. Let's take Opera GX as an example for Opera. Opera GX was first created for gamers. It has a dark color scheme and accent colors that provide a cyberpunk vibe. Other than that, Opera GX features a feature that enables users to tailor the color accent to their personal preferences. Users may also submit their wallpaper for their theme, which is another feature that Opera GX has. Users who are sensitive to bright web page or who prefer to browse in the dark can enable the dark mode at any page using the FOS dark pages. On the other hand, Microsoft Edge features consider more plain design compared to Opera GX. The users may change the theme and switch between bright and dark modes. Compared to Opera GX, users don't have as many personalization options. However, individuals who simply want a straightforward and basic browsing experience could find the sheer quantity of customizing choice a little daunting. The user is free to choose whichever interface or theme they choose. Resource usage is a significant issue for many users. Users of Opera GX may restrict how much RAM on CPU are used thanks to the program integrated resource control. This is a crucial setting for gamers and users who has less powerful PCs or laptops. For Opera users may remove surplus browser files fast with GX Cleaner. Cache, cookies, and history in browsers can slow them down over time. This can be cleaned by GX Cleaner. Junk files may be removed with GX Cleaner which will enhance Opera GX performance. Microsoft Edge, on the other hand, they allow users to turn on efficiency mode. With efficiency mode enabled, Edge users fewer resources and switch to sleep mode after a short period of inactivity, conserving battery life. Users may now browse for a longer time when using a laptop that isn't plugged in. This will save more battery and save up more RAM and CPU usage.
My name is Ivan Lau, and I will now talk about the final comparisons between these browsers. Firstly, we will talk about Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge has been operating since the year 2015. It is currently running on the Chromium browser. Even though Microsoft Edge is considerably new compared to Opera, it has over 158 million users worldwide. Microsoft Edge also receives regular updates based on a 4-week schedule. As for specifics, Microsoft Edge may require better hardware to operate as compared to Opera. It does not offer as much freedom for customizations, however, it accommodates these issues by having a faster operating speed. It also does not offer as many features as Opera. Next, we'll be talking about Opera, which has been running since 1995, is one of the most popular browsers available today. It also operates on the Chromium browser, and it has up to 350 million users worldwide. As for updates, it does not follow a fixed schedule and it receives updates every few weeks. For hardware requirements, Opera can run on any home computer as it does not require high computer specifications. For customization, Opera gives users the freedom to customize their browser. The speed, however, is not as fast as Microsoft Edge, but not by much. It also comes with many features like VPN. In conclusion, these browsers are capable of everyday tasks. The comparisons between these two browsers may not be too different from one another, and ultimately it is based on users' preference. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.